Jeff McMullen from Imperial College, now Imperial Business School. I just left Indiana University after 17 years and former editor-in-chief of Journal of Business Venturing, but just finished that. So I'm a free man and just happy to be here. Yeah. If you look at the evolution of the field, I think at first, we were really into entrepreneurship and what can governments do to facilitate entrepreneurship. And 20, 25 years ago, there was a lot on that. And then we see a lot on entrepreneurship education. How can we facilitate students and help them, screen ventures, determine whether they want to be an entrepreneur? And so we've always kind of been connected. I mean, a lot of the entrepreneurship research has been connected with organization studies. So it's logical. It's kind of funny that it's just now getting to this level, given that that's the logical unit of analysis for a lot of entrepreneurship scholars, and it came out of strategy, came out of org theory. And now it's like people are like, okay, what can organizations do to help entrepreneurs become better or at least get closer to their goals? And so I think once people started realizing these were almost laboratories, naturally happening laboratories, you started seeing interest and you started seeing scholars moving into the space saying, I wonder if we could study people in their journey through this ESO. And then that led to an interest in the ESO itself. Like, what could they do? How could they do it better? And now I think you've seen a bit of an evolution into the ESO as an agent of change in itself. So for example, can an ESO facilitate an ecosystem? Like if a city's wanting to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem, who's going to do that? Well, it's probably not going to be a private firm because they have their own interests in mind, but an ESO often will have a dual agenda of, or we want to promote this local region or whatever. And it might be a mix of stakeholders that come together and say, our mission together is to make Cincinnati better, make Cleveland better, make Vienna better, and how can we do that? And so through that process, I think you're starting to see research in that space. What can an ESO, what does it need to look out for? What kind of leadership does it need to have? What kind of metrics are out there that say it's doing well or not? Because right now, a lot of it's just in good faith. We invest the resources believing the ESO helps, but we don't really know that for sure. So I think metrics, measurement, strategies and tactics that ESOs can use. Asking entrepreneurs, figuring out maybe getting a little bit more specific on what the entrepreneurial support organization's mission is, because they're not all the same. So you'd almost have industries within ESOs, ones that are about diversity and inclusion, others that are about high growth ventures. All of these exist under the label of ESO right now. I think it's been good. It's been a good conversation starter because you had people working in the space, but not a lot of discussion collectively yet about what are the issues. So I think like this morning, we really discussed measurement and metrics and realized just how difficult that was, because what we take for granted versus what we actually test and validate is extremely difficult. For example, we talked a little bit about the notion of, do you ask entrepreneurs whether it's helped or not? And does that really actually work? Because they've committed, they're going to want to believe that this time that they spent was useful. Was it? And at the same time, you'd want them to be happy about it. You'd want them to think it improved. But at the same time, external stakeholders want to see the $1 million company. Is that a reasonable expectation if the person that went into the venture perhaps shouldn't be an entrepreneur, or their idea just wasn't a great idea? These are good outcomes to determine, but yet that's not necessarily what governments want to see or investors want to see. They want to see everything that comes in grow tenfold and be impactful, whether that's in the private sector, the social sector, wherever. So that was a little bit of the discussion today that I think was extremely fruitful. I'm just surfacing what do we need to study. Discussion this morning was really interesting, just about digital ecosystems and how do you make those more conducive to entrepreneurship, and what does that look like? What are the challenges there? What do we need to measure? What do we need to know? I mean, before you can ask questions in research, you kind of have to say what needs to be asked. And a lot of that, I think this VIGS conference brought practice and research together. So practitioners saying, what I need to know is this, and researchers going, oh, we've got an answer for that, or here's a tool, or here's a way we could study that. And so you can't really get there without these kinds of communication, this kind of conferences. I think that's what the conference really achieves. And VIG's made that possible. So that's great.